You would be probably shocked. You would probably be, okay, let's try again. You would probably be shocked at the number of savings accounts I have open. Most people have like one savings account that's connected to their checking account, not me. I have probably about 15 different savings accounts that are designated for different purposes. Let me tell you what some of them are. I have a travel savings account, a savings account for gifts. I have one for my emergency fund, one for running shoes, one for the vet. I have a savings account for car maintenance and haircuts and a specific trip I'm hoping to take, and a savings account for my counseling expenses and for car registration. There's a lot of them here. Some of these are short-term savings accounts or sinking funds, ones like gifts or running shoes or the vet or Christmas gifts or my car registration. Those are things that I'm saving for regularly, but I do expect to spend that money in the near future for those designated purposes. However, some of my savings accounts are more long-term savings accounts, like my emergency fund. That's a fund where I am saving money consistently, but I hope to not have to use it in the future. I'm hoping not to touch that fund and just leave the money there as long as I can. I do not keep the money for these savings goals or these savings funds at the same bank as I do my checking account. I chose to set up my savings accounts at an online bank for a couple reasons. First of all, when that money is moved to an account that's completely separate from my checking account, I really have to plan ahead if I want to use it. When your savings is connected to your checking, it can be really easy to just dip into your savings for a night out with friends when you run out of money in your checking account. It's much harder for me to get this money out of the savings account and back into my checking account. I guess I shouldn't say harder. It just takes a little bit of prior planning in order to get the money out of my savings account into my checking account. And so I'm less likely to spend it on last minute impulse buys. Secondly, online banks tend to have slightly higher APRs, which means I'm earning a little bit more money when I leave my money with them in an online bank than I am when I have my money at a brick and mortar bank. But really, in the grand scheme of things, unless you have a lot of money in your savings accounts, this isn't a ton of money. It's not really anything to write home about. Once I chose an online bank and all of these accounts were set up, I went in and renamed them for all of these specific things that I was saving for. I'm an adult, and of course I can use this money in these different accounts for whatever I choose to spend it on. However, I find that when I separate out the money into different accounts and they're all named for their intended purpose, it just makes me more conscious of how I'm using the money. So if I choose to dip into my vacation fund or my travel fund to borrow $5,000 to spend on a new phone, that's totally fine. I can definitely do that. But having it in that separate travel account gives me a moment of pause and helps me to think through, okay, if I do take that $500 to spend it on a phone instead of travel, how does that impact my upcoming trip to Argentina or wherever I happen to be going or whatever I happen to be saving that money for? I find that dividing my money out into these separate savings accounts really just helps me to be more mindful about how I'm using that money. In my video on sinking funds, which I will link right up here, I explained to you how you can figure out how much money you should be saving each month for each of your savings goals. So if you haven't seen that video, check it out. But the basic gist is that you estimate how much you will need for a particular expense, and then you determine how many months you have left to save for that particular expense, and you can divide the estimated amount needed by the number of months you have left to save for that particular purchase to figure out how much money you should be saving each month. For example, let's say I want to buy a new used car in June of 2023. It's currently February 2021, so I estimate I have about 28 months left to save. And let's say I want to have $10,000 on hand to buy a car. So if I want to have $10,000, I divide that by the number of months, about 28 months I have left to save. So $10,000 divided by 28 months is about $357 a month. So if I want to have $10,000 by June 2023, I would need to be saving about $357 every single month until June 2023 in order to have that $10,000 that I want to buy a new car. Well, a new used car, you know what I mean. In a minute, I'll explain to you how I actually set this up in my personal financial system. But in the meantime, I wanted to let you know that if you are interested in establishing your own personal financial system that's unique to you and that helps you meet your own financial goals, I have several free sessions coming up that I would love for you to attend. You can find out about all the free virtual workshops I'm offering at automatetoabundance.com/workshops, and you can get registered for one of my upcoming sessions there. So once I have those separate savings accounts set up at the bank of my choice, and I know kind of how much I want to be saving for each of those savings goals every single month, I actually set up an automatic transfer to send that money over to those savings accounts as soon as I'm paid. So as soon as I get paid at the beginning of the month, I have an automatic transfer that will automatically pull a certain amount from my checking account and send it over to this savings account for this designated savings goal. So let me give you some examples for my actual personal financial system. Okay, so for example, I send, oh wait, these are not real ones. Here we go, scheduled. So I send over $50 a month to my gifts account, and I send over $30 a month to my car maintenance account. I also send over $20 a month to my savings account for vet bills. I set it up so that money automatically transfers out of my checking account shortly after I'm paid and into these savings accounts so that it's not just sitting around in my checking account waiting to be spent. Once I save the amount needed and I'm ready to spend that money, I just transfer it back from that savings account into my checking account and go ahead and spend the money guilt-free. Saving money in this way for any irregular expense I can anticipate helps me be so much less stressed when these expenses come up. I can't always anticipate exactly when I need the money, but if I'm saving for something gradually month by month, at least I know I will have some money set aside when something comes up. So when I find out that there's something going wrong with my car, I know I at least have some money in my car maintenance fund to be able to start to cover this so that I don't always have to dip into my emergency fund to cover these expenses. It really helps me to enjoy spending rather than having every single expense that comes up feel like an anxiety-inducing emergency. I am curious what you're saving for or what you might be thinking about saving for after having watched this video. So let me know some of those ideas that you have in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so that you're the first to know when I upload a new video. And go ahead and click over to this video right here because I know you're gonna love it.